Hey there, YouTube. It's Petey Two Finger, and years ago, I remember sitting on this very couch with my daughter watching a video with Eddie Van Halen, and he's smoking a cigarette. And he's like, I'm a tone chaser. I've been chasing tone. Look over there. There's a tone. I gotta go. Oh, let me chase some tone over here. I've been doing it for 45,000 years. This is what I do. Is I chase tone. And we got a kick out of that. I had never heard the word tone chasing. Anyway, I'm working on my wet rig, which thanks to the Steve Stevens, the cradle of the cyberpunk guitar player with this enormous pompadour and his ray gun, pew pew pew, I got you. He had a wet rig on Rig Rundown, and it was so silly how unbelievably great it sounded. Now I'm using these multi-effectors. I updated it. I was using a Zoom G10N, which I just absolutely love it. But I got a new XMG300, which is more new. It's 32-bit, and it really sounds fantastic. But it leaves a little bit desired apart from the amp and cab sims. The amp and cabs are great. You can load your own impulse responses. It's fantastic. But they give you one compressor that's kind of shisty. There's a decent amount of delays, and there's some modulation, but the way I've been running it, my live setup, is I split my signal and go to a dry channel, and then the wet channel is the new X with these great amp and cab sims, and then it goes over to a Moore Ocean Machine. Now this is a looper with two fancy delay units, independent stereo delays, and then a stereo reverb. Or you know what? I think the reverb sums to mono. But the delays they have like 10 different modes for each delay. I bought the air switch for it, which makes it easier to control it and do tap tempo. So I have a expression pedal that does the level of that effect of all those delays and reverbs. And then so I can put the beat onto the song before we play it, and I will tap tempo. I'll go like da 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 da, bop, bop, bop. So I have one quick delay and then one longer one, and then I can adjust that level of effect with my expression pedal. And what I found was, man, when you toe that sucker down and it's at 99, which is more like 50 on a normal effect. It's really, it's awesome. It's awesome. But at the same point, I begin to think, hey, you know what? Remember that Steve Stevens rig rundown? Run rig down? I bet with all that cool ping pong delay going on, if you added a single mono dry, just the guitar would really pull everything together. And I mean, this is a duo, so having a wet rig is not going to be overkill, really. It really isn't. And I've been building different amps and trying to keep them in that range of not using a modeler. And then it just kept bothering me, like, you should try using modeling on that center channel. So that's what I did, and we're going to talk about that today. One of the rules with the long and the short of it is this, for people who don't want to stick for the whole video, or I can give you the punchline now if you want to decide if you want to hear the whole story. I bought some automotive bullet tweeters and crossovers and boxed those up, so if you have a guitar speaker, you can run your power amp cable into this tweeter, which is actually going into a crossover, and the treble channel goes to the tweeter that's in the box. And then it's a two-way crossover, so it has two outputs. One is for the tweeter frequencies, and one is for the mid-range and woofer frequencies. So that mid-range and woofer frequencies goes to another quarter-inch jack, which says out. And you run that cable to your regular guitar speaker, and then you can use a normal guitar speaker with this tweeter, because in order to fully take advantage of a modeling an amp and cab sim, you need to have these full range flat response speakers. And like this company Headrush sells one for $229. It looks like a little monitor. It's got a tweeter and an 8-inch speaker and a 200-watt amp built into it, which I'm guessing is Class D. So I'm thinking, well, I can replicate that for really cheap. I can get the tweeter. I paid like $9. It was $18 for the tweeters. I bought these JVC speaker boxes, put the crossover in there, and I tested it out today with these I've got a pair of really good guitar speakers. They're rated at 400 watts. They weigh about 60 pounds because the magnet's so huge. It's called a Gauss 4218, I think. Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols used them. Jerry Garcia used them. And they're just ridiculously heavy aluminum dust cap speakers that they sound better than every time I've A-B'd it. It's like that speaker wins. So yeah, I had tried this same configuration and didn't like it. Now I added that's the punchline is, hey dummy, do what you say. Every time you come on here, you bitch at people for playing amp and cab sims through a guitar speaker and expecting it to sound right. And in this case, I added that tweeter, and it's awesome. So my wife's coming in. There's going to be a little interruption here. I wanted to show you a little bit about how all this happened. Hey, honey, I'm making a video. How are you? You okay? How was your day? All right, baby. So, bullet tweeter. These are automotive tweeters that were popular with marijuana dealers in the 70s, and I think you could blow these if you were playing a guitar straight into it, but if you use a cab sim, it's going to shave off some of those harmful frequencies. So I got a pair of really cheap bullet tweeters. They were under 20 for the pair, and then I went to eBay and got some two-way crossovers, which look something kind of like this. Not these look really cheap. Not those. I've used these, they're pretty cheap. Where are they? Anyway, yeah, they're cheap eBay crossovers. They were orange, and they weren't these. I think this was the one. So, yeah. Today, going way back, I bought this Time Force. It's an Echo Box, stereo in, stereo out. It's got analog, digital modulation, panning, and reverse, all kinds of delay modes, and I love this thing. It doesn't suck down. If you're looking for a multi-delay, this is a metal chassis. These are awesome. I paid $45 for my Time Force. Got the Mod Force a year later for $55, and it's awesome. I love it. So there is some stuff in here, really cool stuff that I've never seen anywhere else. And the true stereo is wicked. So I ended up buying the Amp Force, which I hated. The boost feature is awesome, but when you go into preset mode, which is what you would use live, the boost switch changes to an up switch. So you don't have the boost for live. Now they should have given you another jack to run an external switch just for the boost, but they didn't. You can see there's two rows of the same thing. This is two different amps. So when you adjust let's say this is a treble, presence, mid-range, and bass, you adjust the bass and then hit B, and then adjust the bass again. Adjust the mid-range and then hit A. And so you're doing everything twice, finally saving it. It's just clunky. It's kind of difficult to program. You have to hold down the save button for 5 seconds, and then stock, it comes with the noise gate shut off and the cabinet sim shut off, which I want those on. When you go into the cab sim to edit that, you get one cab sim universally, which I would think, it's got 10 preset patches. Hey, let us have 10 different cab sims, but you don't. So I hate this thing. The reason I hated it was the high gain, the metal sounds were ridiculously sizzly and too over the top and shitty sounding, and the clean sounds were good. But there were really no like overdrive sounds in it. Anyway, all the demos that I found for this thing, they never had any. It was always like Tagalog or Filipino or Chinese guys who English was their second language. So I didn't even know like one the best video demoing it, that the best sound, you couldn't see the device. Like, did he have pedals in front of it? And I think he did, because what I finally did, because I've tried to integrate this thing and tried to integrate this thing and tried to integrate this thing, and I'm going to show you what I did today. And man, oh man, does this sound great? It's a Digitech DD7, which is the distortion factory. This is a modeling distortion. They had two of them. There was a chorus factory, modulation factory, and then the DF7. So this has Tube Screamer, DOD 250, Boss, DS1 distortion. It has a Metal Zone MT2, which I really like that. There's some Digitech Metal Master, which is awful, and the Big Muff sucks. So the good ones on it is the what do you call it? Boss DS1 distortion. The Rat is awesome on it, and the Tube Screamer. There's three really good sounds on here, in my opinion. So the rig is, the amplifier is the Tone Mender. This is an EQ, runoff groove tone mender. It's a 3-band bass, mid, and treble. And they give you these diagrams, like if you set everything, oh yeah, see, Fender. That's Fender. You can do a Vox and you can do a Marshall with different settings on this EQ. And the mid shift, this gives you a little more high end. So yeah, it's a TPA 3116D2, which is a Class D amp board. Okay, so I have this guy here. They used to cost $5. Now they're like 10 or 15. But yeah, it can take 24 volt. You can run it off 12. You can run this off a 9-volt battery, and it's loud. But yeah, in and out. And then there's this, which you can remove that and solder in a 10K pot, and you have your master volume control. So that's what this amp is. It's a little mini amp that has that tone mender in front of it. And my signal path is the DF7 going into the the amp force, and then on the way out, I'm using a Baby Boom reverb, which is a cheap, surprise, surprise, PD's cheap. This is a really good cheap reverb I took in on a trade. Everything the guy gave me has something wrong with it. This one, the LED was blown on it. But yeah, I'm always preaching to the choir about, oh, you run your modeler and expect it to sound good without having a full range flat response speaker. Now, this is not a full range, but like I said, you know, the 12-inch speaker is going to handle the bass that a guitar will produce just fine. Especially this 12, it's so beefy. The magnet weighs 60 pounds. So today, hooking this up, I'm just kicking myself that I never realized, hey, the amp force, you have a guitar amp, you put a pedal in front of it, and that's where we get, you know, that's how it works. So I am going to take this rig out and use it. It's a little bit overkill to have 3 pedals and then a smaller amp with a smaller power supply for this center channel. But hey, that's on me. It all fits on top of the speaker cabinet, kind of. I might have to do a little flim-flam, like add a little block. onto the tweeter because the amp that it's got that sitting on top is a little lighter. So I thought, oh, I could cut a little block and screw it on there with a drywall screw and paint it flat black. Anyway, you guys, I was so excited today because of the tone that I got out of the NuX amp force. So if you run into that amp force, don't make the mistake that I made of thinking it's a standalone box. You need to run some pedals in front of it, and you can get some great tones. The clean stuff is it's spectacular. So I'm getting turned on to some of these in-between sounds like the Tube Screamer, where you have more of the guitar's natural tone coming through, where it's not just like unbelievable high gain like the MT2 setting, is what's given me a little choke down there. So, I hope you're staying cool. Thank you for joining me again, and we'll see you at some point with some live music. Oh my God, I'm beat. You don't even want to know what I had to do today. The landlord calls me, and I have a problem with my shoulder, so I'm in trouble. I'm going to be hurting tomorrow. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Don't be a dummy like me and keep constantly harming yourself, injuring yourself, living in intense amounts of pain. And peace.